Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of This Week in the XFL. I'm your host, the referee, representing XFL2K.com, the number one source in XFL news. So we got a big week. We got a bunch of big stories to cover. Everything from Bob Stoops to what's that? Maybe some team names. Well, we're going to cover it all. So, as I mentioned, we're going to start with the small stuff. So we're going to talk about our man, the head coach and general manager of XFL Dallas, Bob Stoops. And it sounds like he's very dedicated to this new role. How do we know? Well, it looks like he's taken a voluntary pay cut at his existing role for Oklahoma. So this is pretty big if you ask me, right? So he's pretty much taken a pay cut, a pretty decently sized one here, from $325,000 a year to $162,000. Now again, this is a voluntary role that he does for them, but he still gets paid, right? So he's the special assistant to the athletic director. He's held that role for a couple years now, but it's nice to see that he seems to be focusing his attention on building this team out. It's not really just a side job. If anything, this other job is more of his secondary worry. So sign him up there. Always like to see that type of news. So we're going to move on to maybe a little bit bigger news here that we didn't touch on in the intro. So we initially reported late last Saturday night that Tier 1 quarterbacks would not be included in the draft. In fact, they would be allocated to each team. Well, we spoke to a league representative over the weekend, and that seems like it may not be the case, but it may still be. So it sounds like the league is considering this option, but it's not set in stone. It's not a rule. It's something that they're still kind of thinking about. So, this does open up the possibility of getting a Manziel in either a Dallas or a Houston without having to deal with the riffraff of a draft. So, hey, you know what? We may see this happen, we may not, but I did want to touch on it on this video because that's some pretty big news. It's always good to hear about the draft, and I think it's an interesting aspect, right? So if these are going to be the bigger names in the league, then it kind of makes sense. Now, where I could see this headed is maybe we have different drafts, right? Like, so we have maybe the first round of the XFL draft this early October would be maybe only quarterbacks, whereas the rounds after could be all the players or maybe different positions, or hey, we'll just have to see. The XFL will put their twist on it, and we'll just have to find out when we hear more. But we'll keep you updated when we do. So moving on to some AAF news. Now this one is not as exciting or as fun as when we talk about some of these ex-AAF players getting a chance to showcase their skills at these XFL summer showcases. No, this is Dundon looking for a refund. He's charging misrepresentations. He wants his $70 million back. And hey, that is a lot of money. And hey, maybe he has a point here. So he's saying that he was pretty much tricked into investing in the league. He wasn't told about certain litigation that was going on that may cost 50% of the league ownership to change. That's a big thing, not to mention he wasn't really told about some of the financial issues they were having, or at least to the extent, and again, this is all allegations. We don't know this is fact, but this is all part of a legal filing that was put into bankruptcy court over the week. And yeah, Tom Dundon, looking for that refund, 70 cash, 70 mil, a lot of money. So will it happen? I don't know. Could he get a little bit of it back? It's very possible. I really don't see him getting all of it back. So it is still a little bit his own fault for not doing enough due diligence. But he did at least extend the league for a couple more weeks, right? He saved them after the second week, folded them after the 8th. So that's 6 more weeks of extra football we got because of his investment. So does he deserve a refund? I don't know. Let us know down in the comments, or hey, if you're feeling good about it, click the link to the Discord, join our chat, join the community. There's new folks joining every week, and it is a good time. So Now we're gonna move to the news that a lot of folks have been waiting for. Team names, right? And this is not the full identity, and this is not for all 8 cities, but it looks like the XFL has trademarked 5 different possible names for the XFL Seattle franchise. And I gotta say, I'm excited. I definitely have my favorites on the list. We're gonna go through these one by one, and we're gonna go into a little bit more detail. But hey, this kind of lines up with what we've been hearing. The XFL should be announcing team names somewhere in July, possibly early, late, mid-August. We'll see. But now that we're starting to see these trademarks come through, we're definitely getting closer. And I like it. The answer's always yes. I'd be fine with all 5 of these names. But like I said, I do have my favorite. So we're going to run down the list. So the first one is the Seattle Wild. Now, I'm not particularly fond of this one as far as the whole list goes. Mainly in part, there is a hockey team, the Minnesota Wild, and I'm not so fond of that team name as well. Not the worst name, not the best name. And you know, before we go into this, the rest of this list here, something interesting to note is the main reason we may be seeing these trademarks earlier than the others and multiples is something you have to keep in mind is that the NHL, the National Hockey League, is also starting a team up there. So they've gone through the gambit. They've trademarked a bunch of names out in that region. So, you know, they're working with what they have. But you know what? The Wild still isn't the worst name in the world, right? It is an NHL team. So, you know, to some extent, there are professional teams that are fans, at least, that would admire it, right? I don't know. So the next one down the line here is the Seattle Force. Now, I like this, and I know some people online might not agree, but I like it. It's strong. It's forceful, if you will, and I think that's probably what they're going for. Next down the line is the Seattle Fury. Another good one. Maybe not the highest on the list, maybe second to last in my book. Now here, the last 2 are probably my favorites, the top tier, the echelon of the group. So we're going to start with my second to top favorite, and that's the Seattle Dragons. Again, it's cool. I think it can make for an awesome logo, the whole identity. It fits into the kind of the green scheme of things out in Seattle, right? So I'm all about that name, but I'll tell you my favorite name on this list, and it's not nostalgia, I'll tell you that, is the Seattle Surge. It just rolls off the tip of your tongue. It has a good ring to it. It fits with the maritime theme, and it's a very forceful, strong name. I don't know, call me crazy, but that's my pick. That's the one I want to see. But again, leave your ideas down in the comments. Do you like any of these names? Do you have any other suggestions? What names do you like the best out of this group, regardless if you like any or not, right? We want to know. And hey, you can always join the Discord, links down in the description as well. Sign you up there. So that is some big news. Like I said, we're finally starting to see some team names. That's probably going to ride us out here until we get to the draft, because there's not going to be a lot of big news except for maybe some hires rumored, or players, or different, assistants and things like that are filling out through the league. But it is getting to the fun point. We're on days left until kickoff, and I'm ready. But hey, before I let you go, I got a couple things to share with you. Do you like XFL merchandise? And more specifically, are you looking for that sweet retro XFL merchandise? So XFL2K.com and 503 Sports just started a partnership, and you can save 10% on any purchase at 503 Sports. Links down in the description. Use the coupon code XFL2K. Like I said, 10% off everything. And not only do they have retro XFL merchandise, they have a whole slew of retro football merchandise. USFL, World Football, and like I mentioned, XFL. Go sign yourself up on a Tommy Maddox jersey, a He Hate Me jersey, or whatever you want. They'll specialize it and get you signed up on that. And one more thing to share. So I know some folks have asked, where do I get one of those sweet XFL 2K t-shirts that you were wearing in your video footage from the Houston Summer Showcase? And here, I'm going to show it to you right here. So that one I was wearing was actually kind of like the demo. That was the test print. So this is the final shirt. You can go to shop.xfl2k.com to get this and many other t-shirts. Support us. All of the money that you spend there goes back into this channel, back into the website, and making it bigger and better. But one more thing, and I'm not trying to sell you something this time, but hey, we're also on Facebook and Twitter. Give us a follow at XFL2KCom, no dot. Still trying to get that premium handle. Come on, dudes, answer those messages. Make me look legit. But since we're on YouTube, make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that bell to see when we're dropping new videos. Some are going to be live and some are going to be pre-recorded, just like this one. So until next time, ooh, sign you up.